I welcome you to the 60th sequel of the Church of Uganda, celebrating 150 years of its history, and it's a celebration indeed through our own history. We celebrate the state and we celebrate the church. Today, let us look at this law, the order in council law that ended up with changes of the Uganda border. And then we shall also look at the state of the church by 1903. The new Conservative Prime Minister of Britain made swift changes in the administration of colonies and protectorates. He was the Right Honourable Arthur Balfour, and his colonial Secretary of State was the Right Honourable Joseph Chamberlain. And through the House of Commons, they amended the British Foreign Jurisdiction Act of 1890 First Schedule that protected territories and trust territories were moved from the British Foreign Office under the Foreign Secretary and Colonial Secretary. That way, they would become British possessions or colonies and move away from special commissioners to governor. Therefore, Lieutenant Colonel James Sadler was the last British ruler of Uganda to carry the title Special Commissioner. The Uganda Order in Council 1902 law was broader based when compared to the Africa Order in Council law. The Uganda Order in Council law 1902 laid out the power and authority of the British in the Uganda Protectorate. It transferred the whole eastern part of the then Uganda, as you can see from the map, which is on the top here of the audio video. So the whole of that green part was now ceded to become the British colony or the Protectorate of Kenya. The British colony and protectorate of Kenya. So Uganda lost Nyanza, Mumias, Kipsigis, Usingishu, Lake Lodorov areas, and the Great Rift Valley, all the way up to Naivasha. I think you can see Naivasha. We lost all of that under this Uganda Order in Council Law 1902. The fact that the lost area was to be transformed into a state of Israel was not mentioned in the amendment. Why? Great Britain had not yet received an acceptance from the Congress of the Jews, despite a meeting with their chairman in London. Why? Because of this law. This law had to be passed first to create this particular area. Now, in December 1902, Colonial Secretary Joseph Chamberlain visited the British East Africa Protectorate, which is today what we call Kenya. He was warmly received by the white settlers. I think it was the first time that a Secretary of State at a level of a senior cabinet member in Great Britain was visiting Eastern Africa. As a matter of fact, he was on his way to South Africa. However, he had promised Apolo Kagwa that he wanted to see the area they are trying to create for Israel. In other words, he wanted to see Uganda, but he never reached. Although he reached, because up to Naivasha was Uganda, and therefore if he reached there and saw the settlers, it means he was in Uganda. And it was the law which was being passed in that year that was taking away all that part to become Kenya. So he visited Uganda. It's true, he visited Uganda. As much as we can say he never reached the Buganda kingdom. Now, he was about to offer the same area to the Jews, but when he met Bishop Peel of Mombasa, Bishop Pew protested. He protested that the Jews were not Christians. Did you know that? Jews, some are today, but Jews are not necessarily Christians. They believe in what they call their Jewish religion. If Christians are followers of Jesus Christ, so if they deny Christ, if they say they are still waiting for the Christ, then they are not Christians. And so Bishop P was very correct. He protested that these Jews you want to bring are not Christians. So he asked Chamberlain to bring more white settlers who were more of Christians than Jews. But Chamberlain would hear none of Pew's protest, apart from complaining that he had not seen his friend Apolokagwa. As Apolokagwa got surprised when he was in London that these people thought Apolokagwa's kingdom reached all that area, so they were expecting, I think, to find him. Now, he was told that Buganda kingdom was very far away, and this was to his disappointment, although Apolokagwa had actually told him when he was in London that the borders of Uganda Protectorate were adjusted as Article 1 of Uganda Order in Council 1902 law boundaries. But the changes were not signed for by the British Foreign Secretary till the 15th of July 1904. Why? They were still waiting for the Jews to conclude their Congress. Now, again, those border changes were gazetted on the 1st of October 1904. The reason for the delay was to wait for the Jewish Congress, to accept the area which they were being offered to begin or to start a new state of Israel. Now, so much for the order in council law. What was happening on the ground? What was happening on the ground? We've been to Seychelles, we've been to Zanzibar, we've been to London for the coronation. Now we are in Chamberlain is visiting around. But what is happening on the ground home here? Now, in 1902, the second central school in Uganda was opened by the Mill Hill missionaries, and it was opened at Namiryango. When you open books written by Roman Catholic missionaries, they write that Namiryango Central School was the first formal school in Uganda. And I am not surprised that some historians have been hoodwinked by this hatred between the two faiths of that long time, and have been repeating it in their own books. Now, please, modern researchers, don't be blinded by this hatred of Protestant versus Catholics missionary style of research. The truth is the truth. The first central school was in 1897, and it was the Mengo Central School. Therefore, Namiryango became the second. Let us record history accurately. Let us not be blinded by the hatred of our forefathers based on their faith. Now, Apolokagwa was invited to Namiryango to witness the school opening, and he honored the invitation. With time, of course, as we shall see in future sequels, it was expanded into a college so that it could instruct adult catechist teachers and government clerks. But that is for the future. So by 1902, two central schools existed, Mengo and Namiryango. Unfortunately, they were based along religious lines. From then on, that became the trend of major schools that opened. The children and the grandchildren, on growing up later in the 20th century, picked schools for their children based also on religion, and the ripple effect continued for a long time. Well, some things need to be said, and that I have said. On the 28th from the 28th all the way to the 29th of November 1902, the Mengo Hospital was razed to the ground by lightning and thunder. It burnt for 2 days. That was the very day Bishop Tucker returned from England. Dr. and Mrs. Cook had also just returned from England. The Protectorate government, for some reasons, was very busy building a government hospital for Bazungu in Entebbe at a cost of around 2,000 sterling pounds. In fact, that hospital was near completion. So, as for Mengo, construction of even a bigger and a better hospital commenced, and it commenced immediately. That is how the Baganda of that time used to react whenever there were these incidents of fire. Whether it's a cathedral, the Baganda would react by building even a grander and a better whatever structure. So it is happening for Mengo Hospital as well. Now that was the year 1902. That is what was happening on the ground. So the year 1903 then began. The Reverend Jameson Willis, who had been transferred to Ankole on arrival, was transferred to Entebbe to establish a chapel for the Protectorate government Bazungu staff. Reverend Willis was now 30. He was still unmarried, and he was serving his 60th year as an ordained priest, both in England and, of course, the time he had spent in Ankole. Now, here at Entebbe, there was a structure, but that structure had not been formalized into a chapel, and that structure was being headed by somebody called Davis, the Reverend E.C. Davis. And so that is the one who was responsible, and is the one he succeeded to begin a formal chapel in Entebbe. So the Reverend Jameson Willis is basically the pioneer of the Bazungu Chapel of Entebbe, which we call St. John today. It's no longer for Bazungu. It is for all Christians of all races and color and creed. Not creed, actually, it must be an Anglican. Now, tragedy very early in the year befell the Namirembe CMS mission, when on the 26th of January 1903, Miss Bond, a well-known missionary, fell sick. She had arrived with her husband, Dr. Bond, in 1901, and they had sat in for Dr. and Mrs. Cook, who had left for leave in the UK. Now, Bishop Tucker appointed them for medical work in Toro, and they were set to go in January, in that very January. Unfortunately, at 2:30 p.m. on Friday, 30th January 1903, Miss Bond, who had fallen sick on the 26th of January, died. She was actually buried at Mengo Hospital. The journey for Toro, however, began on March 3rd. Dr. Bond went to Toro even without a wife. You can see the resolve of these missionaries. Passing via Bunyoro, the bishop's horse fell lame and had to be carried in a hammock. Finally, the group reached Toro on the 21st of 1903, and the bishop, who was now on his, I don't know which number of pastoral visit number was this, I've lost the count when it comes to Toro. So here again in 1903, they are in Toro. 21st of March 1903, the bishop confirmed 401 candidates. Oh my God. The bishop returned to Namirembe CMS station on the 14th of April 1903. Now, since we are in the year 1903, we should get interested in the formal announcement of the death of Mwanga, which was made in May 1903. So that will be the focus of Sequel 61. May the good Lord bless us all.